So, I was a big fan of Guilty Gear, and then of course, since I'm no longer playing with those people, and the fact that there's no real big Guilty Gear scene anywhere that I've been except Las Vegas. I kind of fell off on it. It wasn't. Plus, as I told everyone before, I've tried to get together with the Guilty Gear scene here, in Seattle, but unfortunately, that didn't work out. I just didn't care to have me in there. I don't know, in their clique or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'd like to get some people some feedback on what do you think of this, even for the people that don't play Guilty Gear. Has it changed enough for you to possibly consider taking up the game? EX moves, breaking throws, new characters, redrawn sprites, more animations, new background stages. It's definitely more than just an update. This is an upgrade. So, I would like to get people's, feelings on that. Since there's 16 of you listening right now. I'm sorry, 18. One of you calling right now. 425-738-6216. Or if you want me to call you, message me on AIM, which my name is B as in boy, ENN 93Z28. So it's basically Ben with two N's, 93Z28, as in that was my car I used to own. But now the question is, A, when does it come out in Japan? B, when does it come out for the for console in Japan? And C, of course, when does it come out in the United States? Ask the question. I surmise that it'll probably be out in Japan in the next 6 months. Console maybe 6 to 8 months after that, maybe, possibly. In the America, I would say that it is more likely than not that it will be released because this is such a major upgrade, and we haven't had a new Guilty Gear on console in a pretty long while in America. The last was Guilty Gear Reload. It's now it's been an update and upgrade later, and we still, haven't gotten anything yet. What systems? A lot of people are praying for Xbox. Don't know if it's going to come out on Xbox or not. We can certainly hope. I actually hope it's out on Xbox and PlayStation 2. But you know what? If it comes out on the X360, I won't be mad. But I would be most happy. If it came out on Wii, Nintendo Wii. No, I don't plan to use their controller for it. And said, but you know what? Wii is the only system I'm planning to buy this year. And if it comes out on Wii, I'll be so happy. PlayStation 3 is unlikely because some execs have made it clear that 3D is where it is on PlayStation 3. 2Ds don't matter anymore. So I say that the release on PlayStation 3 is somewhat unlikely. Anyway, since no one's coming on right now, I need to use the bathroom. I'm sorry. So I will be back. Meanwhile, enjoy more of my gaming music. Let's see here. I'm back, people. I'm sure everyone knows what that was from. That was fucking Super Mario World. Super Mario World is one of those games that, you know, when you make a game like that, you put yourself in a very, very big predicament. How do you top Super Mario World? I don't know. That was a great, 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 great game. Man, but it was a great game. But my enthusiasm for Super Mario has came back because I don't know about you guys, but I saw the preview for the Super Mario Galaxy. Mario Galaxy that's coming on Nintendo Wii. And that looks off the chain. Before that, I had a few orchestra medleys for Zelda and Mario. So, again, I hope, you know, this is one of my favorite songs, actually, that Super Mario World ending. It's just it's a great song. And I was hoping that they will reprise that sometime in the later Mario game. By the way, that if anyone thinks that they've heard that song before they play Super Mario World, you are correct. This is a slower version of the overworld theme on Super Mario 2. If you don't believe me, go get an emulator or take out your Nintendo and play Super Mario 2, the US version, and you'll see what I mean. The first bars are almost identical from note for note. So the guy that did this, his name is let me make this right. Koji Kondo, who did both the Mario and Zelda. He's a freaking genius. And if I could find a Japanese interpreter, I would love to have him as an interviewee, because you know what, he's just as responsible for Mario and Zelda as your girl Miyamoto is. You know, music has a lot of power, and it's great at setting the mood. But yeah, but it was just great. Well, I mean, I'll put it this way then. Check out the very first stage on Super Mario 2. The first few bars. Yeah. It was another... I know, it had nothing to do with Mario at all in Japan. But still, great game Super Mario 2 was. Super Mario World was greater. Let's see if Mario Galaxy is the greatest. Yeah, if NKI would mind being an interpreter, I would love to have him on the show. You know, he helped shape game music as it is. I'll tell you what's a really... Let me see if I can play it. I'll tell you one... You know, one part of... one Zelda's melody that made me very sad. Like, really, really, like, depressing sad. I'm going to play it for you. Hold on for 1 sec. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. I'm gonna find that if it kills me. No, that's not it. That's not the original. Yeah, someone mentioned Mario 64. It is not the same. It's just not. It's not the same So I mean, so it was a great game actually. It's just it wasn't the same. I wouldn't really call that a Super Mario World sequel. That was just another very very good Mario game to me. But I wouldn't go as far as to try to say that it was goodness gracious. Guess I'm gonna have to do a little search for this. Let me ask you guys a question, especially the people on the RC, or if you're on AIM, you can message me your aim, your answer. Did everybody beat the second quest on Legend of Zelda, the very first one for Nintendo? I'd like to know that. Now listen to this. This is the thing that made me sad. Hold on. There you go. And that is the same thing that when you die, that's the same one. It's just that in the end, when you beat the game, it takes a little bit farther. So there you go. It's not actually, that's not the continue screen. That is actually the ending for Zelda 1. The continue screen plays a little melody off of it over and over again, but in the end it goes into a little, it gets a little bit more, there's more to it. Alrighty. I like visiting down memory lane. Let me see what else I got in here before we move on. Oh, this is another good song. Hold on. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. That's another good song. I guess I better play this before we get some more, before we go out of the music phase.
Your game is through.
So I never got an answer to that question. Legend of Zelda, Nintendo Entertainment System. Second quest. Did everybody beat that? That shit was hard. Alright. Anyway, let's get some people on the show. 425-738-6216. Yeah, the second quest was hard. I watched someone beat it on a time speed, speed run on YouTube. I mean, I gotta give that dude props. This is how he did. He beat the game in 30 minutes on the second quest in 30 minutes. And when he beat the game, he only had 3 heart containers. Did not even have the blue or red ring. And and he just went up there and he didn't even have the master sword. Or the magic sword. He was using the white sword. He tore through that game. The second level he went to wasn't level 2. He went to level 8 as a second level and beat that first. He beat it all out of whack. I mean, it was just kind of funny. Man, somewhere around here, man, it's probably my old house. I made an entire map of level 9 through the first quest. And you right, you needed one. Nah, contrary. Someone beat Zelda with bombs and a candle. I can believe that. Cause that dude, when he the little soldiers, I think they call them dark nuts. I don't know why they do that. But in Zelda one, there's the little soldiers. There's blue and red. Dude just said a whole bunch of bombs and blew them all up. I'm like, I could have done that. I was looking at that. I'm like, man, you know how many times I died trying to beat them things? Yeah, next time just set off some bombs. You hit something. I really like when I got to level 9 on the second quest. I accidentally bumped into Ganon. I was going through the rooms looking for the red ring and for the silver arrow, and I went in the room. We're like dun 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 dun. I'm like, hold on. Oh shit, I had nothing, man. In fact, when I first played Zelda, when I got to Ganon, I didn't know why. I kept on stabbing him. I'm going, why won't this dude die? Why won't this dude die? I kept on stabbing because I didn't even know that there was a silver arrow in level 9. I was stabbing him over and over again. I'm like, okay, this dude keeps on going back invisible and hitting and throwing shit at me. Come on, man, die. I did that for 20 minutes. I'm like, and then I died, and I go, okay, there's got to be something wrong with the game. I thought there was something wrong with the game. You see, I beat Zelda without the aid of a Nintendo Power. The only thing that messed me up was that, what I just told you, and the fact that I couldn't find all 16 heart containers until when I came. This is after the Super Nintendo came out. I went back and went to the original Zelda and beat it again, and then I found it. I found the 16th one I was missing. But yeah, I mean that was great. That was great. Let me look on here. But in contrast, Zelda 2 was a pushover. That was the only thing. I like Zelda 2 because I know a lot of people didn't like it because it was a side scroller instead of an overhead view. But I like that. But man, it was just like, I mean, it was like stupid though because you get to the end boss, right? And the end boss, and I mean, it was stupid though because when you get to the end boss, which is of course when you're supposed to like fight yourself, I mean a shadow of yourself. All you gotta do is go to the end, you know, like go to the left part of the screen, and then just swing your sword, and he dies in like under 45 seconds. I'm going, what a pushover. The big thing dropping fireballs that was before that was harder than the final boss. Now, rumor has it. Okay, let me tell you something. I know I'm waiting for Guild GGL Steve, and I messaged him, and so far he's still idle on AIM. So I guess the interview is running a little bit late, and I might get stand up yet again. Woohoo! What else is new? Anyway, now there's two little things. One of my friends says that when he played Zelda, when he got to the end, he didn't fight the shadow version of himself. He fought the wizard. Like, because there was a wizard right by the Triforce. He fought the wizard, and the wizard kicked his ass. My real experience with Zelda is, you know how you're supposed to have, 8 points of power for your magic, your life, and your attack. Well, for my attack, I had 9. Like, I had 9, attack power, which 8 was the maximum in the game, but I had 9. It stated there 9, and it was true. I was like you remember the Iron Knuckle, the little armor things that come and fight you with shields? I was killing the blue one in 2 hits. I was like, damn. And plus my experience, you know how every time when you hit your experience, it goes up to a higher number. No, this thing always is 150. So like every time I kill the enemy that gives me 150 or more experience points, poof, I go up a level. So like by the end of the game, I had like 95. Like because every time you go up a level, you get a new life. I had like 200 men, 200 extra lives. So I mean, it was crazy. It was like I had some weird experiences with Zelda 2. And I'm not kid. I was not imagining that. Maybe someone else has heard of the glitch that I'm talking about. All right. Yes, I'm talking to Sirlin now. By the way, let's see if we can get him on. Strange, strange glitches. Alright, people. We're going to go ahead and talk to Sirlin. Alright, people. I need you to send me questions for him. I don't know him as well as you guys do. Need questions. Send them, please, now.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm alright. You're on the radio station.
Okay.
Alright. First thing I wanted to ask you, because of popular request, can you give us any more information regarding Super Turbo? Because a lot of people are really anxious to know more information about it.
Okay. Well, what would you like to know?
Well, I know this question has been answered for you. I think I already saw this on Answer once already, but is it really arcade perfect? People are trying to say, or asking, I should say.
Yeah, it really is, because there's also a lot of feedback here. I'm hearing my own voice, which is really irritating. But anyway, we're using a ROM from the arcade board, and basically the PlayStation 2 is being tricked into thinking it's an arcade machine, and it's running the same ROM as the original. So it'll have the same bugs, like Dalton can't do reversal super, and so on.
But
so
is it going to be like? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, so it really is exactly the same version that is in the arcade.
Is it going to be like? I don't know how many versions of Super Turbo there were, but is it going to be like the Alpha Anthology where you have diff switch settings and you'll be able to take out glitches or so forth so on, or play with different versions of Super Turbo, anything like that?
I really only know of one version of US Super Turbo.
Okay.
That's the one we're using.
Okay.
You'll have access to setting the the difficulty or a couple of the settings that arcade operators could set, but that's it.
All right. You earlier you talked with to a Tech Monkey. Yeah, he actually wants to he wants to get in on the conference here, which is cool because I heard so much about you, but I don't know very much about you. That's kind of the funny part. So so maybe he actually would ask. He said from what he told me, he kind of picked your brain clean when you guys talk.
Yeah, let me tell you actually one more thing about Super Turbo. So, although it's the emulated arcade version, I really wanted there to be a versus mode and a training mode. And if we were doing a port, like starting over but looking at the source code, that would be very easy. But it's actually very difficult when all we're doing is creating this fake arcade machine and plugging the ROM in. It's like a black box. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to modify anything. But we have found a way to add it in the Versus, and it was shown at Evolution exhibition match. Daigo and Alex Wolf, or Alex 1. And the training mode is a beta state where it kind of mostly works, but it's really shippable yet, so we're trying to finish that off.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you can do about this back? I hear an echo of my as I speak.
Yeah, I'm getting. You're kind of chopping up as well. Do you mind if I try back and see if we get a better connection?
All right, that sounds good.
All right then.
Okay.
Bye. Alrighty, let's dial him back. Hey, is that better for you?
Testing. Let me see. No, I can still hear you. I don't know. Oh, well.
Do you want to try to call me?
Sure.
All right. I'll just PM you my number.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, then.
Bye.
Bye. All right, we're having some technical difficulties here. See if we can get this all ironed out. People, I still need questions. I've only gotten one question. If no one's submitting any questions, this is going to be a really, 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 really short interview. Hey, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
How about that?
Let's see, testing. Okay, sounds better so far.
Okay, cool. I was just gonna. Someone asked, "Have you heard about the new Guilty Gear?"
Yeah, I've been following the news updates.
What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, I think Guilty Gear is one of the best design games there is, so I'm excited. I heard a rumor. I mean, I don't know if it's true, but that Arc Systems said that Sammy Sega kind of made them release Slash, and that Accent Core is actually the real game that they wanted to make the whole time. So I don't know if that's true.
That wouldn't surprise me, because I mean, considering that Slash has only been out for 10 months, and we're already getting a new version of Guilty Gear. I mean, this is more than an update. I mean, update is doing that an injustice. This isn't. This is like an upgrade, more like it.
Yeah, I don't think people should really complain about that. I mean, it is fast, but look at the alternative. When did you get the last update to CVS2? You know, how many years has that been? Like, they stopped making those games, so I'm excited that this company is, like, really interested in improving the game and balancing it. And I understand they need to sell it every year to stay in business. But I think that helps all of us, because they're still going to be around to make, you know, Guilty Gear better.
And I was going to ask you, have you heard about if you've been following, you heard about the EX moves?
Yeah, I've heard about that.
And I find it kind of that's crazy, because like, for example, with Anji, I hear that his butterfly projectile, when it's EX version, it gets back the overhead on the second hit like it was in Reload. And,
oh, wow.
And on top of that, it hits multiple times. It hits more than 2 times.
And does Faust ES like item throws at meteors, or I don't know if that was a joke or if that was serious.
Wait a minute, repeat that? Oh, Faust, his item throw. That's a good question. That is you know what? That may not be a joke, because it's kind of hard to to think. Have you seen the new tension bar? It's like 3 times as long now.
Oh, actually, I have not seen what it looks like.
Yeah, because if you're on YouTube.com and you put in like Guilty Gear Accent or something, you'll see a few of them. I see a few short videos of them testing it out, and the tension bar is like long as the bar in Alpha.
Wow.
It's pretty long, and so it's going to be pretty crazy. I mean, Pachumkin got his Pachumkin Buster in the air now. There's a new parry move. We haven't got even no more information about that. It's going to be really interesting. Oh, and finally they put Raven in the game. I know there's a lot of fans that are probably creaming their pants because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, it does. It does. By the way, someone wanted me to ask you. You wrote a book called Playing to Win. For the people who haven't read the book, like myself, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Would you tell us, what the book is about, what inspires you to write it?
Okay, well, I think it was 6 years ago or something I wrote the article called Playing to Win, and then a few follow-ups to it, and those have been passed around the internet like a million times, and I get emails every week for years about those articles from people from all sorts of different gaming communities, from games I've never heard. You know, a lot of times people will say, I play GOTC, and you've changed my life, and I don't even know what game they're talking about. And I guess it's posted in the, like, beginner or noob forums in a lot of different games, where the veterans of whatever game are tired of arguing about this stuff, and so they just, like, point to these articles. So since it got so much of a response, I thought I should really polish it up and extend it and give, like, kind of the complete version. So that's why I wrote the book. And I mean, on the one hand, it covers like what I see as the journey of going from not knowing anything at all about a game to first learning, like how to approach learning just the basics of it, and then which is like the beginner phase. Then I cover the intermediate phase, which I think is mostly mental. It's mostly just getting past this idea of stuff being cheap or scrubby or whatever, and just trying to understand what the most effective things are in the game and how to beat those things. And you should be drawn towards those things rather than repulsed by them, because that's what you're going to have to beat if you want to improve. And then, I did kind of reach near the top of, or maybe the top of Street Fighter Alpha 2, so I've kind of seen what it looks like when you're one of the best at a game. And I talk about, like, kind of the special challenges there when you start running out of opponents. There's only a few people in the world that can really play against, and so what do you do there? Then there's some kind of maybe like moral questions of, do you have any obligation to teach people, or can you just like slaughter them endlessly? And I don't really answer that, but I certainly explain both mindsets because I've seen it both ways. Some players want to like really give back and they become teachers, and I think, unfortunately, I think that starts to really weaken your game. You only have so much time, and if you spend a lot of it playing with beginners and teaching, it's really hard to keep that bleeding edge. But I don't want to fault anyone for teaching, because if we didn't have teachers, we wouldn't have anything. We wouldn't have a community. Mm-hmm. Then there's the kind of the flip side of like being super hardcore all the time and just slaughtering everyone. And everybody hates that guy, but when you have to fight Daigo or go to Japan or something, you want that guy around on your side. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it. It's the journey from not knowing anything to really reaching the top and everything you encounter along the way. And about I forget if it's a half or a third, and he was exactly right. I mean, he named exactly what it is that I'm good at. And he said, I would expect you to be bad at this other thing, and I would expect you to lose to this type of player and that type of player. And he totally described John Choi and Alex Valle without even knowing who they were. So I was like, wow, this guy's really onto something. It's like magic. So then I started to look at, what is Justin Wong's personality type, and what about Ricky? And I'd really like to look at players of completely other games, like Thresh from Quake, and so on and so on. So that would take, I think, quite a bit of research, but that's like golden information. I mean, no one has really studied that, I think. No one has put that together before. So I'd like to get to that eventually.
Someone asked, going back to Super Turbo for a minute, they ask, what are the odds of it getting ported over to Xbox 360?
Well, I mean, this Capcom Classics Collection 2 is just like a certain contract that starts and ends. So I think the question you mean to ask is not will it get ported over, but will there be a completely new product that has nothing to do with this one on 360? Okay. So, I mean, I really cannot speak to what business deals might be on the table between us and Capcom, but there's definitely a chance of that.
Well, I guess can I ask it this way? Based on what you've done with the PlayStation 2 version and running the original ROM, do you think you could do the same on Xbox 360?
I didn't hear the end of that.
I was saying that since you was able to use the original ROM for the PlayStation 2, version of it of Super Turbo that's going to be on the Capcom Collections disc, do you think that you can duplicate that for Xbox 360?
I see. So, yeah, the answer to that question is probably a lot different than you might expect. If the company I work for were to take this project, I mean, it doesn't exist, but you know, if Capcom wanted to do this, and we're the company that did it, it would certainly be much easier for us to use the same emulated arcade version on the 360. It would just be the natural, obvious thing to do. Now, if a different company did it, they might have an easier time porting some completely other version, which, you know, is not going to be perfect. So, and I have no idea which company is going to end up doing this. It's, you know, there's so many factors that have nothing to do with how good the game is, and business and politics. So, you know, I don't know. It can go either way.
So,
but
I mean,
if we did it, it would definitely be the arcade one.
So, wait, my question would be is, right? It depends on who actually, you know, does the game, and
right.
I was just going to ask though, because you know, I'm sure that you heard a lot of complaints about hyper fighting.
The 360 hyper fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really terrible.
Yeah, I mean it's so I mean, well, I can
people disconnect on me like constantly, you know.
I'm asking this question: is there anything that gamers can do to sort of force the issue? If they decide to do a Super Turbo version for 360, hypothetically speaking, is there maybe a potential? There's a way we can petition that your particular company is the one that produces it, since we were so happy with the version that was on PlayStation 2, you know, something like that.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I think the primary thing is this comes down to like how much money we bid versus how much somebody else's bids, but that could be a factor. You just have to make sure that it doesn't look like it's something I cooked up. You know, that it comes from you, the community.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not sure how effective or not that would be. Because, like, if it were, you know, 200 names or something, then Capcom is just going to say, oh, well, those are just the hardcore fans, and, you know, we sold Hyper Fighting to hundreds of thousands.
Right. Right. So we need more than just 200. We need 20,000 signatures probably before we get some type of response. And maybe we should look into that, because I mean again, this is just supporting your own community. You're part of the community, and we're very fortunate. I mean, I'm not trying to do a lot of ass kissing here, but we're very fortunate that we got somebody who actually works on the damn games. I mean, that's great. I mean, that's excellent. You know, finally we got a ally up there in the ranks. You know, and I'm happy about that, and I'm sure that a lot of people are happy about it too. Someone asked that the previous version Super Turbo were always faster on console, even on emulation, compared to the arcade version. Did you take any steps to get as close to emulating the speed and slow down of the original, the original arcade set?
Well, by the method we're using, I don't see why it would be faster. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, I can't imagine that's going to be an issue, but since you've brought it up, I will go test that and make sure that it's the right speed. If I do go test it and find that it's the wrong speed, that's actually pretty easy to solve. So, I guess good job for calling it out now than before it comes out.
On the training mode, another person asked this. You say it's in beta. Does that mean that you're having problems dealing with trying to reset the energy without glitching the gameplay?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Okay.
It's actually like regenerating the character's energy is not the problem. It's how you handle, like, when you hit the opponent when they're at very low life, because you don't want them to die. You don't really want the round to end. You try to make them invulnerable. They don't have the right hit reactions. So I don't know. I mean, we just haven't had time to really get to that. So maybe that's going to be like a 2-second fix and it'll be easy, or maybe we won't be able to fix it. I don't know. There's like 1,000 things to look at because there's 20 games on the collection.
By the way, when is this scheduled for release, or approximately?
It comes out in November.
November? Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you're going to call this good or bad news, but I'm trying to like paint the picture for you that I don't have to play Super Turbo all day and look for these problems. Playing Super Turbo is less than 0.1% of the time we have. Part of it is because we have 20 games in this collection, but here's the part where you might see this as a plus or a minus. The other part is that also in November we will release the Sega Genesis collection, which has like about 30 games on it.
What?
So, yeah, that's right.
On PlayStation 2?
Yeah, on PlayStation 2 and PSP.
That's heresy.
Yeah, and here and in Europe as well.
And in Europe.
Yeah. And both of these, both the Sega collection and the Capcom collection have all sorts of extra content on them. So it's quite an undertaking.
By the way, this is my own question. We're in the midst of a new console war. In your personal opinion, which one are you most looking forward to?
Well, I'll preface this by saying I don't have any allegiance to any one company, so I think I can fairly answer it. I think, Nintendo is the only one doing anything really exciting, so I can't wait to see that. But Microsoft does have a very good online experience with Xbox 360. So Microsoft has kind of done like, their graphics good online and pretty good controller, and you know what you're going to get, and it's good. And then Nintendo is just doing crazy things. I think my favorite system is the Nintendo DS. There's just so many awesome games on that thing. So yeah, I can't wait for the new Nintendo system.
By the way, going back to Super Turbo, people are asking some really great questions. Will Q Sound be emulated, and did you have to get permission from Q Sound Labs?
The Q Sound will be emulated, and I was not involved with the licensing of that, so I don't know. I mean, I know that it's all squared away, but it wasn't me.
Okay. By the way, I don't know if you really know this, but do you know how much the game is going to cost?
Actually, no, I do not know that. That's decided by Capcom, at the end. So Capcom Classics 1 was $20, and Capcom Classics Remix on PC was, I think it was like $40 or something. That seems like too much to me, but I don't know. I'm hoping for the $20 price again, but you can't quote me on it.
Right. But you know what? Someone just stated that. Have you heard that Hyper Fighting for 360 was the fastest selling 360 arcade title?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Wow, that'd be interesting. But let's see. Moving on to the next generation. I was talking to people earlier about Guilty Gear, and I guess this kind of feeds along with it. Which system would you like to see? Like, if they were to do, keep on doing remakes, which I have no problem. If their remakes are really good, I don't mind, Capcom doing remakes, because we've been deprived of, arcade perfect versions for a pretty long time. But
yeah,
so I mean, wouldn't you like to? I mean, for me personally, I would like for you to guys keep on working on, Super Turbo and so forth and so on, and I would like to see it on Nintendo Wii first, because that'd be the cheapest system. That's the only system I'm planning on buying, and because the reason I also say that PlayStation 3 is supposed to be 3D only. That's what I'm hearing. So the 2D fighters on PlayStation 3, a lot of people are saying that it's highly unlikely. By the way, how do you feel about that?
Well, hold on there. That's not necessarily true. Because you know how Xbox Live has the Xbox Live Arcade where you can download games, and the PlayStation 3 will have a similar system, and that 3D only restriction is not on the downloadable games.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it's still possible to have 2D games on the PS3, including Street Fighter.
By the way, what are the rest of the games? That's a good question. What are the rest of the games on the Capcom Collection disc that's coming out?
What are they?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't even think of that. That's a good question.
Oh, I don't know. Don't put me on the spot. You can just look it up.
Okay.
Eco Fighters is on there. What else? Speed Rumbler, which is a kind of not a good game, is on there. Super Turbo, of course. Quiz and Dragons.
Gals and Ghosts?
No, that was on the last one.
Oh.
3 Wonders, which is like 3 games in one. Let's see. Block, Knights of the Round, King of Dragons. I don't know. I forget the rest.
Okay.
Strider.
Oh, Strider's on there. Oh, that's cool. By the way, how did you like Evo this year? That's my question.
Yeah, it was really good. I think we've gotten it down to a science. It was a really, really good idea to run the games one at a time instead of all simultaneously like in previous years. It's just a total madhouse when like everybody from the whole tournament is there at one time and you're trying to run Guilty Gear or something and nobody's there because they're all playing CVS. So it was just much smoother this time.
By the way, do you think that this is the first time that that Capcom has sponsored this tournament? If I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Do you know? Have you heard anything? You don't have to even be specific, but have you heard anything regarding whether or not they were impressed with how it went, like of the fans' enthusiasm? That's what I'm kind of getting to.
I mean, they weren't actually there, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's too bad if they weren't there because I was hoping that maybe 1 or 2 reps would show up and see the enthusiasm and maybe that will make them, keep on releasing, keep on working on it,
Well, we also ran the Comic-Con tournament for Capcom at Capcom's booth. And now they've officially sponsored Evolution. So, I mean, I don't think you have much to worry about.
Do you think that will continue, or do you think, based on what you saw or what you heard, do you think that we can expect Capcom to be back next year? And
I think so.
All right, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really talk about this, but there's talk of other projects between the Evolution organization and Capcom.
That's nice.
So, yeah, I think they're going to be around.
Well, that's what I mean. You don't have to be specific. That's enough to get our blood boiling. So we'll feed on that for about 6 months or however long it's going to be. By the way, someone wants to know if Eternal Champions is going to be on that Genesis collection.
Eternal Champions. Oh, you're killing me with that. I'm not allowed to answer that, unfortunately.
Really?
Yes, I know the answer, but Sega does not let us talk about anything they haven't already released.
Oh, okay.
Like any information that they haven't released.
Oh, okay. Okay. So they haven't made it public yet. Do you expect them to make it public pretty soon?
Well, they've made it public. Like they made public several things. Like they said the Shinobi series is on there, the Golden Axe series. What's it called? Phantasy Star. But yeah, I don't think they've released an official game list.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, they've got to do it soon because it's almost done.
Right. That's what I was about to say. I'm like, this is November is only like a hopscotch skip away now.
Yeah.
By the way, are you still working on the tutorial for Super Turbo?
Yes, I'm still working on it.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I actually want to get back into Super Turbo myself. I think it's a cool game, and it's one of those gems that You know, it'll be 20 years from now. We all be in wheelchairs, and we'll still be playing it. You know, on the PlayStation 7, emulated, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really don't know how this tutorial video is going to be received, you know, good or bad. But I try to kind of start off by having the player look at the game through my eyes to see. I want to show you like that there's really this very interesting game there at all before we even get into the specifics of how to do combos. Because the average person who buys this is not part of the Shoryuken community. You know, they're just some guy that bought the Capcom collection, and I have to grab their attention that there really is something to this game, this Street Fighter game. And then, once maybe they're looking at it in a different way, then you can talk about the beginner stuff, like how to do special moves and what's the difference between normal moves and specials and supers and all that stuff, all the way up to very advanced techniques that, you know, I learned from Kuni in Japan and Daigo in Japan and so forth.
Cool. I don't know if you play Marvel or not.
I played Marvel for like a year when it first came out, but I don't play anymore.
What do you think is? Do you think? By the way, have you heard that Capcom has a DC license?
Are you telling me they do?
Yeah.
Or are you asking me?
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering, have you heard about it? Because it's on a few sites, actually. I Googled it because someone mentioned it in passing in the RC channel, and I looked it up, and there are reports from varying sites that Capcom has a DC license. Which would be interesting because I can only think of one thing they're going to do with that. You know, they're not going to release a shooter game with the DC comic characters. At least that's what I hope not. You know.
Why don't you say the one thing? Because I have certain rules about what I can say. So what's the one thing?
Wait a minute, I guess I'm lost.
Well, you said there's only one thing they're going to do with that license.
Oh, I mean, it makes a fighting game because they have so much experience with making comic hero fighting games before. You know.
And what game are they going to make? What's going to be
Capcom
called?
versus DC. You know. I mean, now we don't. Now the big question is whether or not Capcom knows that Marvel was a success. You know, because everyone pirated the game, so there's no telling if they know it or not. But
of course, they know it's a success. Capcom is very proud of Marvel vs. Capcom series, and if you look at the lineup on Capcom Classics 1 and 2, you'll see that there's some things that are not on there that all were licensed properties. And it has nothing to do with if the games are good or not. It has to do with reaching legal agreements with those license holders like Marvel.
Right.
We're so close to things I can't say, but I can say that a lot of the properties that were licensed, that were left off of these collections, Capcom is getting very close to reaching agreements with. So you probably will see the games in the future.
Wow. So,
and as far as that other license you mentioned,
yeah,
the new one, what can I say? Well, that game almost got made, and it almost got made by me, but it didn't happen.
Oh, you kid! I wish you never told us that, because now we're gonna be sulking in our sleep. No, just kidding. But you know what? The thing about it is, but okay. My question is this, and this is my business sense coming into it. I mean, nothing is ever exclusive because most people always say that, well, since Activision or EA has a Marvel license, that means that Capcom cannot do another Marvel game. But without even reading the disclosures of the agreement, we don't really know that for sure because we don't even know how many games they plan to do with the Marvel license. We don't know any of that. Just like you had a contract for this game, we don't even know what the contract for Marvel was like. So, I mean, wouldn't it be fair to say something like that?
Well, I guess we've all heard some rumblings about the DC license, but I don't know any plans for the Marvel license.
Wow. Well, I mean, because I always hear about stuff being exclusive, but I mean, we seen what GTA was supposed to be PlayStation exclusive, and then next year we saw it on Xbox, and Resident Evil was supposed to be exclusive to GameCube. Then we saw it on PlayStation 2. You know, so I don't really buy into the whole exclusive thing anymore. You know, but yeah, I mean, I think that DC characters would be cool to have in a fighting game. It's just that I hope that Capcom realizes that we got to do something about the Street Fighter characters to make them competitive if they're using the same game engine that they used before, because, you know, I mean, most of the Capcom cast are at a drastic disadvantage, you know, when fighting against, you know.
Well, if there's a new game, I'm sure there'll be a completely new game engine, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Oh, man. If you think that, how can I ask this? I'm trying to be not too forthright. Had that game been your project, would you expect it? Would you hope? Would you make it bigger and better? And I don't know how to ask it. Would you even make it more flashy than even MVC2 is? Because that's one thing that no Versus series has on Marvel too, is that none of it is flashy. It's just total craziness. You know, you think you'd be able to top that if you were to have the chance of making that game?
Well, not making the game, so it might not matter what I say. But
right.
My answer is that there's this, and if to make any fighting game at all, you need to look at the spectrum of craziness. Or on the one hand, you have like hyper fighting. Hyper fighting is like not a crazy game. You know, there's a few simple moves, and it's still a good game. But Marvel is like the ultimate super crazy. There's characters flying in all the time and beams everywhere and 100-hit combos, and it's just like completely ridiculous. And I used to believe that Guilty Gear was like a couple steps cranked down from that, but even Guilty Gear is kind of crazy now.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe I guess Marvel's probably still more crazy. So if you make a new fighting game, I don't really think there's a wrong place to be on the curve. You just have to know who you're aiming for and what the license is, and so on. So if they were to make, I don't know, Street Fighter 4, then I don't think it should be anything like Marvel at all.
Right.
And if they were to make DC versus Street Fighter, I think the Marvel 2 level of craziness is just about right. Like, if you go past that, I don't know if you're going to get a mass audience anymore.
But
so yeah, I think Marvel is a good, a good level of excitement as it is.
By the way, is there anything wrong? Is there anything that will prevent Capcom from making a Marvel collection, not Marvel collection, a Versus collection series?
Oh well, they would have to work out the legalities of the Marvel license.
Okay, let me ask it this way. But since they're not technically making a new game with it, I mean, would you see that as being a big problem?
Yes, that's a big problem. They have to work out the legalities of that.
Okay. So, shoot.
I'm not saying they won't. I mean, they may very well do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a hurdle.
All right. Yes. You know what? It's something that I think I should mention this to all the people who are listening right now, which is a whole bunch of people. Man, you're quite famous, man. No, I was going to say is, nowhere during this course of conversation about Marvel and licenses did you ever mention that it will be a serious problem in getting another Marvel game made, because I know that had to cost somebody's mind up there in Capcom. I mean, and is it safe to say that nothing is ever set in stone, and that we really shouldn't believe everything we read or not read too much into it? Would I be correct in saying something like that?
Well, I mean, it's probabilities, right? Like, what's the probability of them making a DC game? DC is new to Capcom, and the world's open. Anything could happen. Yeah. So, the chances of that are not bad. Now, Marvel, they've been down the road together, and they've parted their ways, and now they're trying to figure out what to do about these old games and how to re-release them. So, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know where they stand with Marvel. They might decide they don't want to deal with them anymore, and there won't be any more Marvel games, or they might patch it up. So it's anyone's guess.
But bear with me for actually killing this subject to death, because everyone's asking me to kill it to death. But since there's so many Marvel and DC movies coming out, wouldn't this sort of go hand in hand?
Well, maybe you should ask Activision, who has the Marvel license to make video games.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, I know this is so far out, and this is my own question. No one sent this in, but okay, everyone wants to talk about Marvel versus DC, and as far-fetched, and there's about a 1% chance of it being made, but I always state that it's not like that Marvel and DC Comics have never collaborated before, because they've had.
Yes, they have. They have collaborated for sure.
And I guess the thing about this, if the gaming community ever wanted to see about this game getting made, and getting made by the same people who made Marvel, or getting someone who knows enough about Marvel to know why it was so successful, do you think that fighting gamers should pursue something like that, even though that the likelihood might be very low? Because it's just right before. A lot of people would think that Third Strike would never be re-released after the Dreamcast version, but poof, we got Third Strike, nearly arcade perfect version of it.
Well, just remember that what I'm trying to convey to you guys is that the world doesn't really work on what would be a good product, unfortunately. It's what would be a good business deal. And so if this business deal were to happen, so Marvel and DC, you've pointed out that they've worked together before, so that's not unthinkable. So imagine that they do work together on this. That's two different companies. Now, Capcom, certainly would be involved as the publisher. That's three companies. Then some other company has to actually make the game, because Capcom US doesn't develop any games. They contract it out. A huge question here is, which country is this game being made in? Is it US or Japan? I don't know if Japan would trust the US with this. So I don't know, who knows there, but there could potentially be a fourth company that's the developer. And then it has to be released on some platform like Microsoft or Sony or both. So that's now 5 or 6 companies. So when 5 or 6 companies get together and try to make something, maybe in a few years contracts will be signed, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
It's very hard to do. And all I can really think of is maybe go on Capcom's forums and ask them, and see if you can get someone from Capcom to respond, or a petition there.
All right, I will.
If there's enough pressure, all things being equal, they're probably not going to do that because it's a really hard business deal. But if they can see that there's a huge demand for it, which part of it is people like you pushing for it, and part of it is just like how many comic books can Marvel sell, and how many comic books can DC sell, so that the whole package looks like it's attractive. Then maybe it could happen.
Right. And because you brought up a very good point. There's a lot of companies, and I guess it is up to us, the community, to actually push it. But I say it this way: yeah, that'd be a lot of work. But it would be great if you actually push for something and get something made. And I don't know who. By the way, do you know who developed Marvel versus Capcom 2?
No, I don't. Japan. Capcom Japan.
Capcom Japan, okay.
Yeah, believe me, I know what it's like to push Capcom to develop something. I'm sure you can imagine what I might have been pushing.
Right. By the way, do you think that Capcom still has the capacity to create a new fighting game, especially Capcom in Japan? Because a lot of rumors have been spread, and I heard this myself, that most of the developers that did these games have disappeared or dispersed. They moved on to different companies.
That's true. Okamoto left Capcom and he went to Gamers Republic, where he made Genji, and many or nearly all of them have gone. So they have a new crop of talent that's made Onimusha and Resident Evil and so forth, but it's funny. It's like Capcom Japan, I think, has this idea that they can't really trust Capcom of America to make such a game as that. But then I kind of don't trust Capcom Japan because who do they have left that can work on these fighting games?
Right.
So I don't know.
By the way, someone just sent me the link to OneUp.com.
Okay.
Sega. It talks about the Sega Genesis collection, and there's Eternal Champions is mentioned because it goes Alex the Kid, Altered Beast, Bonanza Brothers, Columns, Comic Zone, The Cap Attack, Echo the Dolphin, Echo the Tides of Time, Echo Junior, Eternal Champions.
Okay, well there you go.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. But the only reason I was asking is because OneUp has confirmed it, but GameSpot hasn't. So, I find it hard to believe that this information is faulty.
I'm actually a little confused myself because that's the one game that's the only game that was on the list, and then it wasn't on the list, and then it was, and I'm actually having trouble remembering where it ended up.
All right, that's fair enough. I mean, they would be a fool not to release this game because this game was one of the most biggest niche 2D fighters. It was.
I think it's actually not on there now that I think about it.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah.
Gosh, now who with the petition now? I'm just kidding. By the way, a good question. If you were responsible for designing a Puzzle Fighter sequel, what would you change and why?
Oh my. Well, there's making slight mods to Puzzle Fighter, and then there's making a completely new puzzle game. So, if I were to make a completely new puzzle game, it would probably take too long to explain it all. But if I were just to make mods to Puzzle Fighter itself, you're thinking like a Puzzle Fighter, like on a collection in the future that has new options, kind of thing, or?
I don't know because someone asked this question, and I played Puzzle Fighter maybe once or twice. So,
okay, well, Puzzle Fighter is a totally awesome game. I think it's the best two-player puzzle game.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were able to like do a really awesome version of Puzzle Fighter, all dressed up, maybe with some new graphics, HD graphics.
Mm-hmm.
What I would like to, if possible, change would be the drop patterns, because there's 8 base characters and 3 secret characters in that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's 11 characters. Only 2 characters are ever played, Ken and Donovan, because their drop patterns are the best or the least bad, depending on how you look at it. And so that's kind of a tragedy that there's all these characters that nobody ever plays. So if you could tweak the drop patterns and how much damage the characters did, I think it would be a big improvement. And then the only other thing I was thinking about was an option to turn on or off the diamond trick bug. I don't know if you know about that, but the diamond is a special piece that will destroy all the blocks on the screen of a certain color, like all the red blocks. And I won't get too far into the technical details here, but if you use the diamond as intended, then if you break all the red blocks in your screen, it doesn't really send very many to the enemy. But if you use a certain bug, it sends like tons and tons.
Mm-hmm.
So it really changes the game. And in my opinion, it makes the game better. But in a lot of people's opinion, it makes the game worse. And I respect that opinion. So I would give them the option to play with or without it.
By the way, I want to ask this question. This is from me again. Is working on Super Turbo like a dream come true for you as a fighting game enthusiast?
Well, as I've kind of told you, it's less than about 0.1% of what I'm doing. So I really wish it could be more. You know, there's all these Sega games, and there's all these Capcom games, and there's just so many issues to address. But you know, working on the Super Turbo tutorial video has been a way to really get into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's even on Collection 1 and 2, there's been a lot of cases where like Capcom will send some certain artwork or something, and it won't be like the right artwork, or it'll be from the wrong version, and like nobody even knows this except me.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Yeah. So I mean, actually told them, like, many times that, this artwork actually goes here or goes there, or you gave it to us not in the right aspect ratio, because I've seen this before, or the color saturation on Balrog's shirt is wrong, because I've seen this Balrog image for the last, 10 years, and I know what it looks like. So, they're very lucky to have someone to get all those details right.
I was also gonna mention that what do you look for? By the way, how I asked this, let me think here. Working on with Super Turbo. By the way, I do want to tell you thank you from the gaming community and for myself for giving us an ear and being our ally up there in the ranks. We really do appreciate all the work that you've done on Super Turbo to make it as close as Arcade Perfect as possible, and we hopefully hope that it's a massive success. I mean, one of the things I plan on doing is actually, promoting the game, promote it. It's already being promoted, but I'll promote it here on my little radio station too, because, I would like for you to land more contracts, and do more games, because, it's a rare opportunity for us to have someone who's a gaming enthusiast that we can talk to every day to actually work for these companies, because, you just don't see that very often. So, again, I wanted to tell you thanks, and also thanks for doing the interview as well.
Well, thank you. And if there's any kind of petition you're going to put together, you might think about the next Street Fighter that would be on Xbox 360 and which Street Fighter you would want that to be. I know that I would like it to be Super Turbo, but nothing's set in stone. So if there was some public support around that, maybe it would help out.
Okay. We would definitely take that under advice. By the way, on the collection disc that's coming out in November, can we look forward to other extras on the disc besides the tutorial?
Yeah, let's see. What can I say? There's one other pretty big, unusual extra on there, but I can't actually say it yet.
Right. Is it related to? I guess is it related to Super Turbo though?
No, it has nothing to do with Super Turbo. The Super Turbo stuff is that it has a training, it might have a training mode. It does have a versus mode. It's arcade perfect, and it has this tutorial thing. Okay. Yeah, the other extras are for other games. Actually, well, there might, I don't know, we might be able to put some cheats into Super Turbo to do special moves like in an easy way or something. But it's really, I think that would be cool. It just is a fun thing, but it's getting really down to the wire where it's hard to add things. But I'll see what I can do.
By the way, if it wasn't for Guilty Gear, we would basically have, or I should say, if it wasn't for Sammy and Arc Systems, we would have virtually no real deep 2D fighters that are still being produced. In your opinion, how do you get the mainstream attention to 2D fighting games? Because everyone is spoiled. Great. Hold on.
Hello?
I'm sorry about that.
How do you get the attention on 2D fighting games?
Yeah, because everyone is spoiled. For lack of a better word, a lot of people are graphic whores. They look at the 3D fighters and they go, wow, look, they're it's got bouncing breasts and everything, and look how realistic. Look at the reflection of the light in a game that's crappy. And not to say that there aren't any good 3D fighters, and what I'm saying is, but for 2D fighters, what do you think that should be done in your opinion to actually bring it up to the 21st century? What can we do to push the envelope, graphically speaking, so maybe we can appeal to these, people that are so hung up on the graphics of the game?
Well, I think the answer to this question lies with game developers, not with the players. Mm-hmm. But what can game developers do to appeal to a wider audience? So let's just say hypothetically that I were making Street Fighter 4, and that I had planned for many, many, many months on exactly what it would be, and had worked with Capcom on this. If I were doing that, my pitch would be that fighting games have become way too much of a niche, and they have to stop looking at just their own little small community and ask this exact question of how can you appeal to a lot more people without sacrificing the game.
Right.
So part of it is graphics. So you would either choose, the best 3D graphics possible on a 2D plane, like Street Fighter EX, only like not terrible like it is. That's a 2D. Right. I mean, it looks terrible, but it's 3D on a 2D plane. So imagine like that looking beautiful. Or you could still. I mean, I don't know. This is kind of a matter of debate, but I think you could probably still go 2D if the 2D looked like nothing like any 2D you've ever seen before. If it looked like an anime movie, like Laserdisc quality, better than that, like HD quality movie that you're watching and can zoom in on super moves and all this stuff. Like that's possible, but that is really only part of the answer, because you need to look at other games and how do they break through, like Halo and StarCraft. There's a lot of other first-person shooters, so why did Halo succeed? What's so special about it? I think part of it is it had an awesome one-player mode, whereas fighting games have had horrible one-player modes. Fighting games are like the worst one-player games ever. Unless you're a fanatic and you go play training mode. They don't have a compelling story. Like Street Fighter might have a kind of interesting story buried in it if you've read all the comics and so forth, but it's not very apparent. So if there was a story mode in a new Street Fighter that was as compelling to the average user and as interesting as Halo or StarCraft, that's a huge step forward. You've reached beyond your own genre now. You might interest other people. The other problem is that they're way too hard to learn. If someone wants to learn Guilty Gear, I don't even know what to tell them. I'll try to teach them the basics or whatever. People have asked me to teach them Street Fighter, and it's like they can't even get past how to do a fireball or how to do low roundhouse fireball and stuff. And it makes me wonder, like, why is there any skill at all in that? I mean, what's the point of making that hard at all? Why not just have like low roundhouse and then press punch and a fireball comes out? Is that going to change the game for any experts? I don't think so. It should, the controls should be as easy as possible. Stuff that you and I can do, the average player outside of our genre has no hope of doing. And so making an easy control scheme is really important, and it's totally overlooked by fighting game players themselves because they don't recognize it as a problem. But all the people outside of our genre recognize it as a problem. That's why they don't play it. So like a really different control scheme, maybe even two control schemes, one for you and me and another one for like average Joe. So easy control scheme, really great story mode and one player mode, and some way to something that this could be the story mode or this could be a separate thing, but something in the game that is designed to teach you, designed to like take you step by step through exactly what you need to know. I don't see that anywhere in fighting games except Virtua Fighter.
I'm about to say Virtua Fighter has a good one. Yeah.
Virtua Fighter has like, so there's a couple ways to do it. You can do it like the straight up textbook way. That's what Virtua Fighter did. Virtua Fighter it's like reading a textbook in their tutorial. So it's kind of boring, but it's totally comprehensive and it teaches you like absolutely everything. It's wonderful. So some players are going to like that, and it's awesome they have that. It would be nice if there was a more flashy, like easier to swallow part of a story, and Prince of Persia and God of War teach you how to play their games, but you don't really notice it. They do it step by step in part of a narrative. So maybe both things. I don't know. But that's and also obviously good online play, which we haven't seen in really any fighting game except maybe DOA. But that is the total package. That is good online, easy controls, good story mode, teaches you how to play, and brand new graphics. That's what fighting games need to do if they want to stop being like Capcom Fighting Jam and selling 40,000 units.
By the way, how do you, in your opinion, how do we deal with the lag issue with fighters being the nature of fighters where just more than 10 milliseconds is enough to throw the entire game off?
Well, I'm going to have to confer with someone if I can answer that. The answer is out there. It is definitely possible to make an online fighting game that does not feel laggy, and I have played it myself.
So the solution does exist, which is happy enough for me in knowing that. I guess my only other question would be, is it? I mean, when you played it, was it just like the person was right next to you as far as your inputs and your commands and being able to?
It was very.
Huh?
It was very close. I would say. Well, there's about 1 frame of input delay between when you press the button and the move comes out, 1/60th of a second.
Okay, but
which
for all
is very,
intents and
very
purposes,
little.
but very, very little. So it's possible. So that's great though, because a lot of people are really down about that, and they think that the problem is insurmountable. I never believed that. You know, when it comes to humans, and it's my own little personal belief. It isn't even part of like some. I guess it's like a religious belief. I always believe that when humans put their heads together, they can almost do anything. And people always think this lag issue is just so much of a wall that it can never be overcome. I mean, I'm like, we got people flying through the air. I mean, come on now, people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, there's got to be a way
I mean,
around it.
I know there's a lot of people that will tell you that it's impossible to solve this problem, and they calculate the speed of light and the distance between here and New York and all these things. But if you're really clever enough and tricky enough, it can be done, and I have seen it, and I have played it. And again, it's a political thing here, because it's like there are certain networking technologies that my company has, that Capcom might have, that the company that made Hyper Fighting Online might have. And when these deals get done, like, it's so hard to convince everyone involved that we should move away from whatever the networking technology is that's already in place and go for this other one that I personally know is good because I've played it, but, you know, do the tech people believe me, and so on and so on. And all I can say is I wish that you could impress upon Capcom that anything less than perfect networking is unacceptable, and so they would be forced to choose this good solution.
Well, that's good.
You know, if they don't see it as a priority, then it's easier for them to say, well, why don't we have kind of halfway decent networking instead of bothering with this new technology.
So do you think that when we petition, like for example, if we were to petition Super Turbo on 360, you think that we should just lump that along right along with it, make sure it's arcade perfect, and make sure it doesn't lag? You know?
Yeah. I mean, well, I'm sure that's what everyone wants, right? They want it arcade perfect, and they want good online play. If it doesn't have that, there's no point. Now, I actually think it would be interesting to offer 2 versions. Like, you know, together, you can just flip a switch to go back and forth, where one of them is arcade perfect, and one of them we've actually, like, hacked it to balance it a little bit and make Cammy better and Seahawk better and stuff. I would love to do that. Now, I don't know.
I was ask you about that, dude, because I was going, is there something wrong? Why have this company has never done it? How come, like, when companies try to balance out fighters, they always got to... okay, there are situations where a fighter might be too powerful because of an infinite or whatnot. But is there something wrong with just leaving them alone and just making everybody come up to their level? Is there? That's what I would love to see that. I mean, that's my little. I always had a problem with that.
Well, I mean, it's a very general question, so it's hard to say. Like, if we were in the beta test of a game that's not out yet, then of course it's a legal thing to reduce the power of good characters. Like, it's, you know, we're still developing it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, you're talking about once the game's already out, once everyone's already played it, and once they're kind of fallen in love with how good certain characters are.
Right.
Yeah, and well, okay, to support your point, you could look at Marvel versus Street Fighter, which is like the fair version, where they toned down everything and nobody liked it.
Right.
That's happened in all sorts of fighting games where they make the fair version and then it's all boring. So that's definitely a point in the favor of bringing everybody else up. But, you know, there's at some point it's just like things could be too good. Like, you know, RoboKai is like too good and Reload.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't even make any sense to bring everybody else up to him. It's just too ridiculous. And Eddie in Reload is completely crazy. Or Eddie in original XX, he's almost like Super Turbo Akuma. You can just like do anything.
By the way, have you heard that he got his priority back from Reload on his jumping kick? He has it back in.
Yeah, I heard that. I'm
going, great, welcome back, Eddie. You know, that's gonna be cool. By the way, you know what? The thing about it is, by the way, I'm sure you're interested in this new Guilty Gear game as I am. You know, I would like to see if for console, would they do like they did on Slash on the PlayStation 2 release, include different versions of it. I'm not saying it should be in a tournament or anything. That's what I'm saying. But that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I'm very impressed that they did that. And I actually haven't gotten a chance to play Slash enough that I've explored that. But I think it's really cool it's there. So, yeah, I agree.
So, I mean...
I wanted to tell you another thing you could maybe think about rallying some support for.
Okay.
So, for many months now, I've been developing this card game, and I tested it at the Evolution tournament. I don't know if you heard about that or saw it.
No, I haven't heard about that.
No? Yeah, it's each character has their own deck and their preset deck, so it's not like Magic the Gathering.
Mm-hmm.
Not a trading card game. But anyway, the kind of design philosophy behind it is make it as simple as possible so that anyone can pick it up, and try to distill it down so that it's a test of really the two things I mentioned for my book that I thought were the most important to being a good player. And I'll just tell you that one of them is Yomi, the power to read the other guy's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is I call valuation or appraisal, which is like the ability to judge the relative value of pieces or cards in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So if the game is very often asking you to read the other guy's mind and often asking you to judge the relative value of cards in this situation and now in this one and now in this one, then that's a really good skill testing game. And I thought if I only focused on those two things and discarded everything else, it could actually be very easy to play. And so, like I said, I've been working for months on this, and I've had 9 decks available to be played at Evolution. It was very popular. People were money matching in it. The most asked questions were, where can they buy it, and will it be an official tournament at next year's Evolution? So I would really like to move forward with it and make it a real product, both online and physical cards. But Capcom is very hesitant because they already have 2 Street Fighter card games. Mm-hmm. And one of them is distributed by Score. It's published by Score, and it's only distributed in Blockbuster and doesn't sell at all because, why would they have this deal to only distribute in Blockbuster? Nobody goes there. It's a terrible idea.
Right.
Then the other one is part of the Universal Fighting System, which includes Soul Calibur 3 cards and Penny Arcade cards. And that one actually sells. I think it might be off the strength of those other licenses. But I personally think that card game is really terrible. And it has some really good art by Udon, but it has a bunch of other really bad art. And, I don't know. I'm just really frustrated that these other games are out there and they're totally not good. And that's making it hard for me to make a deal on this game.
Actually, I'll be right back. But before, in about 2 minutes, because someone is asking me for money. Okay. But until I get back, would you discuss something for me? What do you think, what other things you think that us gamers should look into, doing the petition about? I'll be right back.
Okay. Let's see. Well, we already covered the online being perfect is a really high important thing, because if you let that slide, then it will. I mean, we'll get substandard networking like we've seen in CVS 2, and Guilty Gear for that matter. The game has terrible networking. Which version of Street Fighter you would like to see on 360? I think another interesting thing to gauge would be the community support for redrawn HD graphics in these old games. How exciting is that? I think it's totally awesome. I would love to have the opportunity to do that. But it would be great to hear public outcry for it if you guys are interested in that. So we have networking, which version of Street Fighter on 360, redrawn graphics important or not, my card game should be made. Let's see. I can't really think of any other. Well, there's the Marvel versus DC, which is way, way out of my hands. But if there's interest in that, you should probably bring it up.
What would you recommend we bring that up to? You should just bring it up to Capcom, right?
Yeah, I was suggesting trying the Capcom forums.
Okay, because I was going to ask it. I mean, that's kind of interesting you bring that up because, as we discussed earlier, that's not as impossible as it seems. It's just one of those things is we just gotta, just gotta push for it. By the way, if you were to do Capcom versus DC, I mean, would you keep the same fighting system and just add to it, or just balance it out or whatever? Because a new fighting system is kind of risky because the one from Marvel was so popular. And it'd be kind of a shame. It'd be kind of a shame to change it too much.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, on the one hand, it's got to change a little because the market demands it, or else you get made fun of. On the other hand, you can't change it too much because it's already a really good formula. The thing that I did have a few changes in mind, but I agree that it's really good how it is. It seems like the biggest flaw of the Marvel system is what I call the lame duck portion of the match, or that's what they call a president who's going out of office and he knows he's going to be out, so he can't really do anything, but he has to sit around in office anyway. And that's when you're down to your last character, and the other guy has 3 characters. It's almost impossible to win, and yet you've got to play it out. The match is over for all intents and purposes long before it's really over, and the Tekken system solves that. We're having switches that are much easier to do and less risky, but if you lose all the life of one character, then you lose. So, I was investigating something like that, but, the whole system of, launchers and combos and beams versus Pixie versus Giants and all that is, really terrific how it was. Are you still there?
Yep, I'm still here. I was just getting some water. I heard you because I have it kind of on my speakers right now, and it's kind of loud in here.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I was gonna say that's an interesting thing. I would be an interesting thing, if you lose one character, then you lose. I guess that would kind of work. It would definitely cause people. Well, the thing about it is, what that means? That means that it would dispel one thing. It would dispel a major thing, and that is, Marvel being known as the assist fighter.
Well, you still have
obviously one character just for assist. Yeah.
You'd still have assist. It's just that if the game worked like that, you just have to make assists work a little differently, so they're not so prone to taking 100% damage like they are in Marvel now.
What? By the way,
we definitely want you to call out assists all the time because you're right, it's the assist series.
Mm-hmm. Because actually, I was just going to ask, what about an idea of that? How can I make this out? Maybe that on the assists, you can maybe customize them just a little bit more. Maybe that maybe they'll give you a menu of the character's moves. And then you can choose which move you want the assist to do. It could be as simple as a jab, or a roundhouse kick, or a fireball. Or, and in fact, you can, even if you got enough meter for it, even a super. What do you think about that?
That's interesting. Well, this is a good, kind of classic game design question. So there's, pros and cons to anything like this. So the pros to the way they had it before is that it's more simple, and you can wander into the game and get a pretty good choice right off the bat. There's only 3, and later versions of Marvel would even recommend one for you. So I like that. Your idea, the advantage of that is it's more like Magic the Gathering because it's you have this customizable card deck where you could put all sorts of things in it, and that's kind of good in that gives you, the player, the hope of, wow, if I find some crazy thing where I use this guy's jab assist and this other guy's super assist, that I'll have, this really good deck that'll be able to win. So it's really fun and exciting to play that. On the other hand, it's that much harder to balance. I can't even fathom trying to balance that game. I guess I would have to use the Capcom balancing system of just give everyone, brokenly good stuff and hope that it works out.
That's what I think you should do. You're right, because it would be hard to balance something that like that out. But at the same time, though, by the way, I think that there should be a rule. if they ever do another Marvel or DC game or whatever game that uses a super jump or the same fighting system, any character that has flight in the game, any character that can fly, should always have an 8-way dash. You know, I mean, I was going to tell people, you know how much better Rogue would have been if she had an 8-way dash? How many more combo potential she would have had? I mean, she has a dash, but it's still not as... She could have been, maybe a slightly weaker version of Storm. You know, where she doesn't have Storm's hail, but she'll hit harder, though, on her combos than Storm would. You know, I would like... That would have been great. And I think that, if anything, if they get any character's flight, make sure they have an 8-way dash, because if you look, you know, Magneto has it, Storm has it, Doom has it. Almost all the characters that have an 8-way dash, Iron Man has it, all good in the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, and that now that that game has been out so long, it's like we know what's good and we know what's not. So if we were to build a new character, we have a much better idea of what I was talking about before, which is the relative value of pieces in the game. So, like, now we know having an 8-way dash is really, really valuable. You know, maybe they might not have known that when they first made it. They might not have realized how good it is. I just thought of another, I mean, I don't know, it seems minor to me, but maybe major to you, if change that we're considering, is that when you talk to people that don't play Marvel and, you know, say, what do you think of it? A lot of them bring up that there's too much, like, flying way up there and the other guy's not even on the screen anymore, and they don't like that. Like, they think it's kind of ridiculous to have this, like, 1P symbol that's just pointing to your guy that you can't see, and I can understand that. So I was thinking the game should probably have more of an emphasis on side-to-side fighting, like wall bounces, like Guilty Gear has. So you can still have, I mean, you can have launches that are wall bounce launches, you know, launches to the side instead of straight up. That's just one example, but just so, you know, you turn the knob a little bit so that more of the gameplay takes place on the screen, and you can still have, you know, super jumps and flying and all that stuff, but just tone it down a little bit so you're not so often, like, seeing only one character like you are in Marvel.
Right.
But yeah, it's not even a big issue really, because the combos could all flow just the same, and you could do it that way too.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, I would actually be in favor of something like that. By the way, wouldn't you, what would you think about a Street Fighter versus Guilty Gear game?
Well, there was rumor of it. I mean, I think it might have even been in development or something.
But it got stopped somehow, yeah. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, you know, Sega bought, no, Sammy bought Sega, or whichever way it was, and I think Sammy bought Sega. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah, and, you know, then after that we never heard anything about it again. So I don't know what happened.
Right, because I was going to ask, I mean, I think that would have been cool, you know, and I would actually let Arc Systems do it. I mean, I wouldn't let Capcom do it. And I know that sounds crazy. But, I mean, because they know, I mean, that they would know how to make, you know, Street Fighter characters a lot, you know, work in there. Because it would be pointless to try to make Guilty Gear players play under Street Fighter rules. That won't work. You know, that's just won't work.
Actually, I don't know, maybe I'm on the opposite side. I was hoping that Arc would make it, but that they'd be given the directive, like, look at the craziness spectrum with Marvel at one end and hyper fighting on the other end, and, like, try to dial it back a little bit. Like, don't make it as crazy as Guilty Gear.
Oh man.
Well, I'm not in charge of this, and it's not a real project, so you don't have to worry. But you know, like DC versus Street Fighter or something should be completely crazy, and it's the game that you want. But there's other players that want, you know, something closer to hyper fighting. So
you mean make it like CVS2, like?
Yeah, CVS2 is like not that crazy.
Right.
I mean, CVS2 is also really boring, but it didn't have to be boring. But yeah, you know, it doesn't have like pool balls and invisible webs and the whole screen filled up with stuff like Guilty Gear does half the time.
No, actually, I don't want that. I would want it a little bit. I mean, it would be between Guilty Gear and CVS2. In other words, it wouldn't be anything off the wall. But you know, I mean, I would love to see some matchups there. You know, maybe like you know, Cammy versus Jam, or Chun-Li versus, you know, no, I should say, yeah. Actually, I should say Chun-Li versus Jam, Cammy versus Melia, something like that. That'd be kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I just, you know, if it's really Street Fighter versus Guilty Gear, I'd kind of like Ryu to be able to throw fireballs and actually have it mean something, and have a Dragon Punch be good. Like if you just pasted him into Guilty Gear, he'd be like totally worthless.
Right. He would need some drastic, remodeling, I should say, redone.
Yeah.
Needs to have to be redone. But you know what? Wouldn't you be in favor of having been drawn in the Guilty Gear anime style?
Oh yeah. It has great art. Sure, I'd love that.
Yeah, because I would think that'd be kind of cool. And I think they should have a tag system. I think not like Marvel, but not like CVS 2 either. Maybe somewhat like King of Fighters. Because I saw King of Fighters 11, I like that. I like how they do the tag system in that.
I don't even know how it works.
Yeah, it's you can substitute someone in the middle of a move, but it's not like super moves and you DAC into another super move. It's nothing that dramatic. But yeah, you can switch characters out in the middle of moves, and you can have a continual combo. And it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool. Maybe it'll use up tension when you switch your characters out or something like that. So you can't people going back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. That was actually my idea for a versus game. Remember I was saying how I like the Tekken system where if either character dies, then you lose. And I imagined that you would be able to switch, if you just, like whatever the command to switch is, if you're just standing there and you do it, then the switch is like very quick and safe. And it doesn't really cost anything, but it doesn't really get you anything other than, switch your guy. But if you're actually doing a move, like, bam, hit him with Fierce, if you want to switch then you're basically Roman canceling the Fierce.
Right.
You're canceling out of that Fierce and getting another character who can continue the combo, and that does cost meter.
Right.
So you get to choose, like, do you want to use it like a Roman cancel offensively, and you can build combos between characters, or you can save your meter and switch safely just without comboing. So I was pretty excited about that. I thought it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and then maybe we will take a page from Marvel. Counters, counting in another character, I think that will actually be kind of cool too. Again, it will use.
Yeah, that works well too.
We should all be making video games.
I just thought, I guess our only disagreement here is like if they made Street Fighter versus Guilty Gear, is it supposed to be like a Marvel type game?
No.
And if so, it should have all this stuff. And then I was thinking it was going to be like CVS, where it's slower, and that's not necessarily bad because it gets a different type of player involved that thinks Marvel's too crazy.
It would. I would think that I wouldn't actually change the game system too much as it is, and as far as Guilty Gear is concerned, because although it's crazy, the thing about it is, it's how can I say? It's harmonious chaos. It's crazy, but it makes sense. So I don't know if I would tone it down too much, but I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't add anything over the top. I still don't think Guilty Gear is over the top because it's not mindless attacking. Because that's one thing that separates Guilty Gear from Marvel. I'm sorry, people who are a fan of Marvel right now, but in Marvel, it really is about forcing the hit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not to say there's no strategy involved. I'm saying is that in all of Marvel, it's about forcing the hit. But in Guilty Gear, you have to be careful though because you got to be careful how you hit the character, where you hit them, and what time you hit them. Because they can easily, do something to defend themselves or possibly turn the tables in their favor. Especially characters that have like counters and stuff.
Not speaking for myself, but the rest of the Evolution staff disagrees with you, and they will not show Guilty Gear to mass media press because it's like too hard to understand what the hell's happening. Like Third Strike is like totally straightforward. There's like two characters and the occasional fireball and some supers, and it's like really easy to follow. In Guilty Gear, it's like complete chaos the whole time, and the average Joe that doesn't know fighting games, according to them, can't follow it.
I think, I think they're underestimating people. If you study something long enough, you don't get me wrong. When they first see it, it is crazy. But once in a while, you get used to it. People have the ability to adapt. And, if they play the computer...
Yeah, I'm used to it.
Huh?
I'm used to it, and you're used to it. The question is what new players think.
Well, that goes back to what you were saying. A tutorial, a good first player mode, a good training mode. You know, showing people how to play the game.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you don't see videos of amazing Guilty Gear play, like, reaching past the fighting game community. But the Daigo Perry video did. You know, that.
That's true.
Like, random office workers that don't even know what video games are, like, have watched that thing. I mean, that had a big impact on me as, like, a game designer, because I realized, you know, I guess you should make a game that should, like, create the opportunity to have some crazy thing like that happen.
Right.
You know, like Soul Calibur kind of has the opportunity for, like, a very long parry sequence to happen. But then, you know, all these glitches broke the parries in that game. But, you know, a lot of games, like, maybe didn't think of that or haven't considered it important to allow themselves to have matches like that Daigo match. But, you know, if it's possible to have some crazy long parry, then somebody's going to do it someday, and it's going to be on YouTube, and you get free publicity.
By the way, what did you think about that match between Daigo and Alex?
Daigo and Alex. Alex Wolf?
Valle.
Alex Valle, which I can't remember.
That was both in Third Strike and Anniversary Edition, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't see the Third Strike one. I saw I announced during the Anniversary one. I just don't remember, like, what was the character matchup or something.
I think that was, oh man, I can actually call him right now, because, you know, he can answer that better than I could. Actually, he's just leaving. Never mind. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I mean, I would, if someone had some info on it, I'd probably remember it, but can't recall.
By the way, what would you change about next year's Evo if you were in charge?
Next year's Evo. Some of the Evolution staff said that Guilty Gear didn't make that good of a showing, and I thought they were completely insane, and that it was, like, super crowded. It was one of the hardest to run brackets because there's too many people watching it, which tells you how good it was. So, I don't know, please, like, post on Shoryuken that you want Guilty Gear next time. That would be a real, total disaster if somebody decided that it wasn't popular enough. You know, I think we really need to have it next year. What else? What to change? I don't know. I mean, the most exciting thing was the Marvel match between Sanford and Duck.
Right.
So, if we can somehow capture that, and, you know, that was, like, kind of spontaneous, but maybe we could lay the groundwork for that kind of thing ahead of time and kind of encourage there to be a big bet or something. I don't know.
Right. I mean, I was going to ask, maybe they should have a poll, maybe 2 months before Evo takes place, that would asking, you know, the community what matchups would they love to see a money match about, you know.
Right.
And see what the results are, because I'm sure that between now and then, there's a lot of shit talking, and there's a hype built up around that shit talking, and then there was a lot of shit talking. Even on this radio station, between what Sanford said about Duck, and I had Duck come on here. He's like, well, you know what? Yeah, we'll see. You know, and it wasn't animosity. It was still all in good fun, but it was funny, all of the talking that was done between. It was really from the East Coast more than it was from the West Coast, and so when Duck put Sanford in losers, then everyone was like, "Oh my God," you know. And then of course that's when the money match happened, you know. But yeah, I would like to see that. I think that should be a permanent staple. $6,600 money match is just insane. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So if we could have more excitement like that, that would be great.
I concur on that one. Is there anything else that you want to address to the community? By the way, you've been a great guest. I mean, gave us a plethora of knowledge and a lot of guidance on where we should go with this.
Let's see. Is there anything else?
I can tell you right now that there's a lot of people who want. There's people have been asking me even now after we discussed it. People are still asking me about Xbox 360 compatibility with Super Turbo, and I'm telling everybody that's listening right now, he wants us to go and ask Capcom and push for it, and not just push for it, to be arcade perfect, but push on it to dump whatever network code they're using and use a network code that actually work that would make lab almost imperceptible.
Yeah, let them know that's a high priority. What's the point of having a fighting game online if online play isn't satisfying?
Do you based on what you said you played earlier with this new network, protocol? Would it work for a game that's as crazy as Marvel, where really it is about the, where it really, because Marvel, it would be unplayable online because it just wouldn't work, especially for Western characters. Would you say it could work under what from what you played with versus whoever you played against?
I don't think Marvel is any more frame dependent than any of these other games.
Oh, okay.
When I play Street Fighter, it's like down to the frame of trying to uppercut you right when you've stood up, and if I do it a frame early, you can just easily block. Right. And really it's coming down to 60th of a second. So whatever Marvel is doing, it's basically the same. Okay. So yeah, it should work just as well for Marvel, I would expect.
Because the only reason I was asking why I mentioned Marvel is that just in case if there's any other crazy fighters like that in the future that this could work. It could work online as well. And by the way, you said about the whole HD. By the way, that's a good question. The whole HD, drawing in HD. What do you think? What can the gaming community do to really push for that?
That's another thing where it's like it kind of depends on how Capcom values that, and Capcom might value these things differently than you, because you value like perfect online play super high, and they're like, oh, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think I don't know. Who's to say? But I think that redrawn HD graphics would be a breakthrough thing. That it would be on Slashdot. It would be on Penny Arcade. It would be everywhere. It would reach through to people who have seen this Daigo Perry video that aren't even fighting game players.
By the way, what resolution is? Because Third Strike is the most advanced Capcom fighter ever. So what's the resolution of something like that? Do you know off the top of your head?
Well, you should go look up Shoryuken.com's blog, where there's a post that Tom Cannon made, Inkwad, where he shows the shadow. I think there's shadow outlines of characters from various games like Third Strike and Guilty Gear and Dead or Alive, and the point is to illustrate how many pixels tall they are in their source art. And you can see that Ken is this tiny little dot compared to Faust, and Faust is this tiny little thing compared to the smallest character in DOA. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because these old school resolutions are just so small. The resolution of Xbox 360 is 720p or 1080i. Mm-hmm. So progressive means it's showing every 720p shows 720 lines every update, whereas 1080i is showing half of 1080 in one field, then the other half of the 1080 in the other field. So 1080i would show all 1080 every time. That would be even higher resolution. And the PS3, there's two versions of PS3, the cheaper one, the more expensive one. The more expensive one I believe it still has specs for 1080p output, but nobody even has 1080p televisions.
No, I'm about to say, any television that even support that,
Yeah, right now, I think 720p is reasonable, high definition. Mm-hmm. So 720p is, what was Super Turbo? It's like 384 by 224 or something.
Right. And I was about to say, we'll see something in 720p would be awesome, especially if it was running in 60 frames. Well, mean, 720p at 60 frames per second, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and to get an idea, you can look at Hyper Fighting or Super Turbo, which is somewhere around the number I just said, 384 by 224. I might be a little off, but it's about that. And you can compare that to Guilty Gear, which can be played in 480i or 480p progressive. And Guilty Gear just it looks way better. I mean, to forget the art style, just the quality of the lines is much better because it's higher resolution. And 480p already looks good in Guilty Gear. And if we were 720p, you could really see the artist's intent instead of blocky pixels.
Wow. So for something like that, you know what? Maybe if we were to start a thread about what we would like to see in Street Fighter 4, we like, well, make sure it is in 720p or higher. Well, 720p would be probably ideal because, like we were just talking about earlier, no one really. I mean, very people have TVs that can go to 1080p.
Well, I would say save your effort about that thread.
Huh?
I've already been. I said I would save your effort on that particular thread.
Oh, really? Okay.
Now, a more constructive thread would be what you want out of Super Turbo on 360.
Okay. All right. Cool. By the way, man, I didn't realize that this interview went on for almost 2 hours, man. Oh, man, that's great. By the way, I'm trying to finish up. Anybody has any more questions for Sirlin, let me know.
So maybe both of your viewers are still out there, or are we popular, or what?
Yeah. We still got 30 people listening right now.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like I said, this is great. You give us a light to think about a lot.
Okay.
And so I'm just trying to see if anyone. There's about a 30-second delay between the time that we say something and when they hear it, because it's going through a relay. So I'm just going to see if anyone else is going to. It's going to go. By the way, is there any way to influence Capcom to use a particular developer if they want to do a Super Turbo version on Xbox 360? Can we?
You can mention that in your threads or whatever. Like I said, the number one thing is how much does each company bid, and what relationship does that company have with Capcom. But I wouldn't say it's worthless to voice your opinion. They can factor that in too.
You know what? I think that's we will definitely take that under advisement.
It's tricky here with this last version of Hyper Fighting, because on the one hand, they should never use that company again, and they should go back to the company that gave them a good Capcom Classics collection. That's what you'd think. But on the other hand, the Hyper Fighting on 360 is selling really well. So, it's easy for Capcom to say, "Oh, I guess we can keep doing that kind of job."
Right. So maybe we should word it as in, maybe it's been successful, but if you want to see more success and have a lasting type of success like the other fighting games like Super Turbo, then it needs to be arcade perfect. It needs to not have any lag, or not hardly any lag. You need to dump that system, get something new. And whoever worked on that Capcom's collection is a good example of what that is, and
right.
We should have more of that.
Yeah, I think it being arcade perfect, I know you and I want that, but I don't think that is as critical to its success as just look at all the online components that the Hyper Fighting has that were poorly made. You can't even tell who you're playing because their name isn't on the screen during the match, and when you're watching, it's in a small window. Why is that? People get disconnected all the time, and it says establishing connection, 15 seconds constantly. There's all these networking problems. And, if it were 98% arcade perfect and had the best networking ever, it would sell tons and tons and tons. And if it were 100% arcade perfect and has the current terrible networking, then, I don't think that's going to be popular. So It's just more about the quality of the whole thing as an online experience that they really should care about. And it's just like you said, how if it were this great online experience, wouldn't it have sold even better? And wouldn't it make the next product sell better? But now I'm kind of worried that the next product, a lot of people are going to scratch their heads and go, I don't know, that last one wasn't that good. Maybe I shouldn't get this one.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, so that's what I'm scared of.
Right. But do you think, do you think it's too late for us to even start talking about it? Do you think that Capcom already chosen who they're going to use if they ever do?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think it's too late.
All right. Well, that's good to know. All right. I haven't received any more questions, and again, I took up enough of your time, and again, I'm getting a lot of compliments though. Jen says that you're the shit, and
thank
the
you.
people and other people on the radio saying that you're beasting on the radio. So everyone is loving what you got to say. I definitely love what you had to say. We're definitely. I look forward to us, seeing more of your work, because I think I can't wait to see, the new Capcom collections coming in November.
Well, if you have any Virtua Fighter players, maybe you can have them contact me. I need a little bit of advice on a few things for my card game. I was considering adding Virtua Fighter characters as well.
By the way, that was a question. Someone asked, is this card game a Street Fighter card game, or does it matter who picks it up?
Well, it has a Street Fighter facade on it,
mm-hmm.
but it could be anything. Because it's a little difficult to get Capcom interested. I've been creating my own set of characters that have their own story and could have their own graphic novel and all these things. I might start with that, and at the same time have all the Street Fighter characters ready and have all the Virtua Fighter characters ready as well, and then make those deals whenever I can, so I can just flip the switch and have it all there. But I don't feel comfortable waiting around forever for Capcom or Sega or something.
By the way, someone just asked, how did your book do?
How did it do? I don't know. I don't even check the sales on it, but probably not that well, because I've done zero marketing for it, and tons and tons of people know about the articles, but I don't think my book is very well known yet. So I really need an agent or some PR or something. I haven't done any press releases or even attempted to be on any other sites. And Penny Arcade mentioned my articles years ago, but they never mentioned my book. I offered to send them copies. I think I did. Yeah, I did send them copies.
By the way, someone asked you a question that kind of puts you against the wall a bit. Bacardi said that he broke your card game in 2 minutes. Is that true?
Who did?
This is someone saying that Bacardi, he stated that he broke your card game in 2 minutes.
Yeah, he didn't even play it, so no.
Oh, okay. Well, shoot.
He asked if it was like Magic the Gathering, and I said no, it's nothing like that. It's not a tradable card game.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, that's a big misconception. I don't know why people think every game in the world needs to be a tradable card game. There's a lot of really popular standalone games like Uno and poker that don't involve trading cards, and they're really good. So it's like one of those.
All right. Well, everyone is like, buy the book, buy the book, buy the book. Everyone's saying,
yeah, please, yes. Yeah, tell your friends that are outside of our community or something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can get it spread the word.
There's a guy named Nothing Access says that he bought your book and he lives by it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I met a guy who said he moved across the country because he read my book, and he realized that he'd have to move somewhere where there was competition if he was ever going to get anywhere. And he moved to Reno, and I've encountered people here and there that have these crazy stories like that. So I'm glad I've had some effect.
By the way, what do you think about something like that? Someone who took drastic steps as moving, when they read your book. I mean, goodness gracious, they weren't exaggerating and say it was a Street Fighter Bible.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's like if it's a priority for him to play competitive games, and he was able to, put that into focus and do it, then I think that's a good thing. Like I don't feel like I'm tricking anybody into doing something they don't want. I'm just trying to let them see with a clearer lens what competitive games are about, so they can decide for themselves. So I see it as a good thing, I guess.
By the way, we just put the link up to your book on our Odyssey channel.
Yeah, you should probably use the lulu.com/Sirlin version.
Lulu.com?
Yeah, lulu.com/Sirlin. You can get it like maybe 3 different places, but that one has the best shipping, the fastest shipping, and has the best agreements with the authors. So you can use Amazon too, but really the Lulu one's just all around better.
Nice. All right. Well, you know what? You've answered all of my questions, and I haven't seen any more questions, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. I mean, feel free to stop by our channel. I mean, we're trying to make we really are trying to get a lot of people more community organized. We were there to cover Evo, and that was cool. And we would like to definitely have you, be part of the group, as to say, because I mean, although this radio station is only 3 weeks old, but during the peak of evolution, we had about 250 listeners on the radio station.
Oh wow!
So
great,
huh?
Yeah, that's terrific.
Yeah, and then so I mean, it's really so. I mean, we would like to have your feedback, because we have guests on here regularly. I mean, like last night, I mean, we had Duck on here, we had Alex Valle on here. We had, a few nights ago we had Justin, Josh Wigfall. We like to get interesting questions. Or I should say, I like to get interesting questions, because sometimes I don't even know what to ask them because I don't know them very well. I mean, but in your case, your reputation precedes you.
I imagine this is more boring than those interviews, because I bet you they are very animated and trash talking.
Actually, they're probably excited. They're excited because I think that we see an opportunity where we can make a serious difference in the gaming community in a very big way, and we thank you for giving us a little direction on that, and we hope that you encounter more success in what you're doing in the future.
Well, thank you. So have me on again once some time has passed and there's some new info.
All right. Well, thanks a lot.
In the meantime, please spread the word about my book and give Capcom a little jab about a new Street Fighter card game.
All right, we will.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, take it easy, man.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.